It started like every other day in the world of combat sports, until Jake Paul opened his mouth. In one fiery interview, the YouTuber turned boxer looked straight into the camera and said, "I've beaten MMA fighters, I've knocked out boxers, and now, I want John Cena." The internet exploded. Memes, reactions, and shockwaves flooded social media. People couldn't believe it. Jake Paul, the internet's most controversial fighter, was calling out the face of WWE, the living legend, the man who built his career on hustle, loyalty, and respect. John Cena. Reporters laughed at first. Fans thought it was just another Jake Paul stunt, another way to go viral. But then Cena replied, calmly, "Seriously, if Jake wants to test himself, he knows where to find me." That one line broke the internet again. It wasn't trash talk. It wasn't for clout. It was a challenge, real, powerful, and personal. Overnight, the world split into two camps. Team Jake Paul, young fans who admired his confidence, his rise from YouTube fame to boxing success. And Team John Cena, generations of wrestling fans who saw him as a symbol of discipline, respect, and strength. Sports analysts started debates. Could Jake's modern boxing style overpower Cena's raw strength and decades of experience in combat performance? Could Cena adapt from the scripted chaos of wrestling to the real, unpredictable rhythm of boxing? Every network wanted answers. Every fan wanted the fight. And within weeks it happened. Both men signed the contract. The press conference was announced. Jake Paul versus John Cena. Boxing star versus wrestling beast. Internet fame versus legacy. Youth versus experience. The moment the posters dropped, social media erupted again. Millions of comments, edits, predictions, and polls filled the timeline. The question spread across the world like wildfire. Can Jake Paul really beat John Cena? No one believed this fight would actually happen, until both men showed up, face to face, and the world realized this was real. Once the contract was signed, the countdown began. Two worlds, boxing and wrestling, were about to collide in the most unexpected way. The internet couldn't stop talking about it. Jake Paul's fans called it the future versus the past. Cena's fans called it a lesson waiting to be taught, and both sides waited to see who would truly back up their words inside the ring. Jake Paul immediately went into full-blown training mode. Cameras followed his every move, his sweat, his punches, his hunger. He flew his elite coaching team to Puerto Rico, turning his private gym into a 24/7 war zone. Jake's training philosophy was simple: speed, precision, and knockout power. Each morning, he ran sprints under the hot sun, headphones blasting motivation tracks. Then came the heavy bag, relentless combos echoing through the gym walls. Left jab, right cross, hook, slip, counter. Every movement was sharp and technical. He wasn't just training his body. He was training his mind to stay composed under pressure. His coach shouted, "Remember, you're fighting a monster, not a YouTuber. He's built different, but so are you." Jake grinned, dripping sweat. "I've faced tougher than him," and shocked the world every time. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, John Cena's training was the exact opposite. No cameras, no hype, no noise, just the sound of weights clanging in a private gym. Discipline over drama. Cena's days began at 4 a.m., the same routine he'd followed for 2 decades. Old-school workouts, tire flips, deadlifts, sledgehammer swings. Every rep built raw power and endurance. His trainer said he trained like he was preparing for war, not a show. When asked about Jake Paul during a quiet interview, Cena simply smiled and said, "I don't underestimate anyone, but respect. That's earned, not claimed." That line went viral overnight. Fans called it the calm before the storm. In boxing circles, analysts started breaking down the matchup. Jake Paul was younger, faster, and had already proven himself against former UFC fighters. But Cena had years of physical dominance, grappling strength, and mental toughness that few athletes could match. Commentators began to debate on live shows. Jake has the knockout power. Cena can absorb punishment like no one else. Jake fights with ego. Cena fights with purpose. Every podcast, every sports show, every YouTube channel, everyone had an opinion. Fans began creating fantasy simulations, AI fight breakdowns, and prediction polls. The hype was unlike anything combat sports had seen in years. Jake's social media team capitalized perfectly. Clips of his sparring sessions went viral. Slow-motion knockouts, brutal uppercuts, sweat flying across the ring. He even posted a video saying, "Cena's strong, but strength doesn't win fights. Skills do." "This ain't the WWE. This is real." The comment section exploded. Cena's fans flooded the replies, "Respect the legend. You can't see him, Jake. Cena will humble you." Meanwhile, Cena posted only one thing, a simple black and white photo of his boxing gloves hanging on a hook. With the caption, "Silence before impact." That single post got more engagement than any of Jake's viral clips. Fans knew he wasn't playing around. Weeks passed. Jake sharpened his movement and reaction drills. Cena focused on stamina and power endurance, long rounds, heavy bag punishment, shadow boxing until sweat soaked the floor. Two men preparing for war in completely different ways. As the fight approached, the press began covering both camps daily. Photos, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage kept the fans hungry. Everyone had their prediction, but no one was certain. Would Jake's boxing technique and youth overpower Cena's size and discipline? Or would Cena's mental toughness and veteran instincts crush the young star's momentum? The tension kept growing. Each fighter's fans began battling online, turning comment sections into virtual arenas. Jake's team released one more video before fight week. Jake looking directly into the camera, eyes burning with confidence. "John, you've been an idol for too long. Time to pass the torch." Hours later, Cena responded with a short video from his dark gym. No words, just him wrapping his hands, staring into the lens, and walking toward the ring light. Silence, then fade to black. The internet went insane. Every sports page, every trending feed, every YouTube comment section, flooded with predictions and challenges. Fans around the world started choosing sides. Philippines, USA, Brazil, UK, India, everywhere. Everyone wanted to witness this once-in-a-lifetime fight. Who do you think has the edge? Jake's raw knockout power, or Cena's unbreakable endurance? Comment your country or city below and tell me your pick. The countdown was on. 2 icons, 2 generations, 1 ring. And the world was ready to find out who would fall and who would rise. The day of the press conference arrived, and the world watched like it was a championship fight before the fight itself. The venue was packed with flashing cameras, roaring fans, and reporters from every major network. Banners hung behind the stage. JakePaul versus John Cena, boxing star versus MMA beast. JakePaul was the first to walk out, flanked by his entourage, wearing a diamond-studded jacket, shades on, smirk loaded with arrogance. He waved to the crowd, soaking up the noise like it was oxygen. Boos mixed with cheers, exactly what he wanted. Then the atmosphere shifted. The lights dimmed. John Cena walked in. No music, no hype men. Just the man himself. Calm, collected, every step measured. The difference between them was electric. Jake brought flash. Cena brought presence. They sat across from each other, mics ready, cameras rolling. The moderator welcomed them. But the crowd barely listened. They were too focused on the tension building across that table. Jake leaned forward first, grabbing the mic. "John, I grew up watching you, but let's be real, your time is up. You're a legend, sure. But legends belong in museums, not boxing rings," the audience gasped. Cena didn't blink. He just looked straight into Jake's eyes, calm, unbothered, almost studying him. Then Cena took his turn. "Jake, I respect your hustle. You've built something big, but there's a difference between fighting for fame and fighting for honor." The crowd erupted in applause. Jake smirked and clapped sarcastically. "Save the movie lines. John, this is the real world, not WWE." Reporters leaned forward, microphones shaking as they tried to capture every word. Jake kept going. "I'm faster. I'm sharper, and I hit harder than anyone you've ever faced. When that bell rings, I'm not showing you respect. I'm showing you reality." Cena nodded slowly, still calm. We'll see what reality looks like when the talking stops. The moderator tried to move to questions, but Jake wasn't done. He stood up, towering over the table, pointing across at Cena. "When I knock you out, I don't want excuses. No respect speeches, just silence, Because that's what happens when hype meets skill. The crowd gasped again, cell phones flashing like fireworks. Cena stayed seated, unfazed, almost smiling. "You know," Cena said finally, "you remind me of myself. 20 years ago, loud, hungry, needing to prove something. The only difference? I earned my respect through action. You're still trying to buy yours with views." That line hit hard. The audience roared. Even Jake's team shifted uneasily. Jake clenched his jaw, grabbed the mic again and shot back. "Old man, you won't even see my punches coming." "I'll retire you for good." Cena stood up this time, slow, steady, deliberate. The crowd went silent. He stepped toward Jake. Security moved closer, ready to separate them. Cena looked Jake in the eye, inches away, and said quietly, "Then show up. Swing your best shot. But remember, when that bell rings, there's no camera cuts, no edits, no retakes. Just truth." They stared each other down for what felt like forever. The room was silent, cameras capturing every heartbeat of tension. Then Jake shoved the mic forward, grinning. "Good. Because I'm about to make history, by ending yours." He stormed off the stage, his team following behind, laughing and hyping him up. The crowd booed and cheered at once. Chaos filled the room. Cena stayed behind for a moment. He took the mic one last time and said, "I've been doubted my entire life. Every time I let my work do the talking. This time won't be any different." The audience erupted into cheers. Reporters swarmed the stage, shouting questions. "Cena, are you ready for Jake's power? Jake, do you really think you can beat a legend? Is this personal now?" Both men ignored the noise. They knew this was no longer hype. It was pride, ego, legacy. That night, the press conference footage went viral within hours. Clips of Jake's insults and Cena's calm responses flooded every platform. Memes, edits, and fan reactions spread like wildfire. Team Jake versus nurtured Team Cena started trending in over 20 countries. Every fan had an opinion. Every influencer picked a side. The anticipation reached fever pitch. The night had finally come. After months of build-up, trash talk, and viral headlines, the world was about to witness what everyone called the clash of eras. Outside the arena, the atmosphere was electric. Fans lined the streets waving posters, half shouting, "JakePaul," and the other half chanting, "Cena, Cena, Cena." Helicopters hovered overhead, capturing the flashing lights, the noise, the tension. Inside, it felt like the Super Bowl of combat sports. Cameras panned across a sea of celebrities, boxers, actors, influencers, even UFC champions. Everyone wanted to see if Jake Paul's mouth could cash the checks it wrote. Or if John Cena would humble him once and for all. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fight of the decade." The crowd roared. Smoke filled the entrance ramp. Music dropped. Jake Paul walked out first, wearing gold trunks, his name glittering under the spotlights. He had that confident, cocky grin, bouncing to the beat, surrounded by his team. He stopped halfway, looked into the camera, and shouted, "This is my ring now!" Fans booed and cheered, exactly how he liked it. He climbed into the ring, shadowboxed a few jabs, and yelled, "Let's go!" Then the lights dimmed. Everything went dark. The arena held its breath. A single word appeared on the massive screen. Respect. The crowd erupted before the man even appeared. John Cena walked out slowly, in his classic robe, head held high, no entourage, no noise. Just focus. Every step felt like a statement. This isn't about fame. It's about proving what real warriors are made of. As he entered the ring, Jake clapped mockingly. "Nice entrance, Grandpa," he taunted. Cena didn't react. He simply nodded to the referee and started warming up. Calm, centered, ready. The bell rang. Round 1, Jake charged first. Fast, aggressive, throwing combinations like a storm. Cena blocked, slipped, dodged. His defense was a masterclass in composure. Jake landed a few jabs, smiling at the crowd, taunting Cena. "Too slow, old man." But Cena didn't swing yet. He was reading him, watching patterns, timing the rhythm. He'd been in pressure before. This was nothing new. End of round 1. Jake smirked, hands in the air as if he'd already won. His corner hyped him up. "He's done, Jake. Keep the pressure." Cena returned to his corner, breathing evenly. His coach whispered, He's fast, but he's impatient. Let him make the mistake. Cena nodded, his eyes never leaving Jake. Round 2. Jake came out swinging again, harder this time. He landed a clean right hook that snapped Cena's head slightly. The crowd gasped. Jake shouted, "Where's your power now?" Cena stepped back, wiped his mouth, smiled faintly. Then it happened. The shift. He started moving differently, more controlled, more deliberate. He threw a simple 1-2, and it landed square on Jake's chin. The crowd exploded. Jake stumbled but stayed up. Suddenly the tone changed. For the next minute, Cena began dictating the pace. Every jab he threw was precise, every dodge timed perfectly. Jake's confidence began to crack. His punches got wilder, sloppier. The arrogance was turning into frustration. Between rounds, the commentators were in disbelief. Cena's footwork is shocking everyone. He's making Jake miss badly. Round 3. Jake came out angrier, determined to reclaim control. He swung hard, wild hooks, aiming for a highlight knockout. But Cena's veteran composure turned the fight into a chess match. Midway through the round, Jake lunged forward, and Cena countered with a clean left that snapped his head back. Jake stumbled. The arena erupted. Cena didn't chase. He stood tall, eyes locked, waiting. Jake's ego couldn't handle it. He taunted again. "You got lucky, old man." "Try that again," Cena calmly replied. Luck doesn't throw 3 times. And he did. Jab, cross, uppercut. Perfect combo. Jake reeled backward into the ropes. The crowd went wild. Even Jake's fans stood up in disbelief. Engagement break. If you were in that arena right now, who would you be cheering for? The legend with experience or the hungry young lion? Type your choice below. Team Cena or Team Jake? Back in the ring, Jake's coach shouted, "Focus! Stick to the plan!" But Jake wasn't listening anymore. He was fighting with emotion. He wanted to hurt Cena, not outbox him. Cena, on the other hand, stayed composed. His years in the ring, the discipline, the patience, all of it was showing now. As the bell rang to end the round, Jake walked to his corner breathing heavily. His face showed frustration. His punches weren't connecting. His plan wasn't working. Cena, meanwhile, sat quietly. His coach told him, "He's cracking, John. Stay smart." The storm's almost over. The cameras zoomed in on both fighters, one fueled by ego, the other by discipline. You could see the story unfolding not just in punches, but in body language. JakePaul had power, but John Cena had purpose. The crowd knew it, and the energy in the arena shifted. Suddenly, people started chanting louder, unified, "Cena! Cena! Cena!" Jake looked around, visibly irritated. For the first time, he wasn't controlling the moment. Cena just smiled faintly, raised his gloves, and mouthed silently, "Round 4. And as the bell rang again, everyone watching knew this fight wasn't about youth or fame anymore. It was about heart, because the next round was going to decide everything. If you were in that press conference, whose side would you be on? Team Jake or Team Cena? Drop your flag emoji and let's see which country supports who. By the time both men left the arena, it was clear. The fight had already begun. Not inside the ring, but in the minds of millions watching around the world, and soon, those words would have to be backed up with fists. The bell rang for round 4, and the air inside the arena felt heavier, tense, electric, unpredictable. Both men stood up from their corners, sweat glistening under the lights, faces locked in silent determination. JakePaul bounced on his toes, shaking out his gloves. Cena, calm as ever, rolled his shoulders and gave a small nod to his corner. It was time. The referee called them to the center. Protect yourselves at all times. Let's keep it clean. The bell clanged. Jake rushed forward immediately, trying to reclaim control. He threw a flurry of punches, and fast, hard, desperate. Left, right, uppercut. All aimed for Cena's head, but Cena's defense was iron. He absorbed, blocked, and countered with textbook precision. Every time Jake swung, Cena was already gone, slipping, pivoting, returning a jab that landed like punctuation. Commentators shouted into their mics. Jake's trying to overwhelm him. But Cena's turning this into a masterclass. He's making Jake chase him, and every miss is draining energy. By the second minute, Jake's breathing grew heavier. His punches lost snap. His eyes darted with frustration, and that's when Cena struck. Jake threw another wild right hand, and Cena stepped in with perfect timing. Boom! A short left hook, clean, precise. It snapped Jake's head sideways. The arena exploded. Jake stumbled backward, hit the ropes, but refused to go down. Cena didn't rush in for the kill. He paused, eyes locked on Jake, as if to say, "Control yourself." "This is where boys break and men rise." Jake gritted his teeth, anger replacing strategy. He lunged again, wild, emotional. Cena ducked under, landed a body shot so deep it echoed through the microphones. Jake gasped, clutching his ribs, for the first time all night. The arrogance vanished. The camera zoomed in on Jake's face, disbelief mixed with pain. His corner yelled, "Back up! Regain distance!" But Cena didn't let him. He pressed forward, calm but relentless. Jab, jab, cross. Each punch surgical, each hit louder than the last. The crowd was on their feet now. Every fan could feel the shift. The legend was taking control. Jake's brother Logan shouted from ringside, "Come on, Jake! Don't quit! You're Paul, brothers! Fight back!" Jake, fueled by pride, raised his gloves again. He swung wildly, missed again. Cena countered with a crushing right straight that sent Jake stumbling across the ring. He caught himself, barely. The referee stepped closer, checking if he could continue. Jake nodded. "I'm fine," he yelled, though his legs told another story. Cena didn't taunt. He didn't mock. He simply waited, gloves up, eyes steady, a symbol of discipline under fire. Jake tried one more attack, his trademark overhand right. But Cena had read him perfectly. He slipped under the punch and delivered a devastating uppercut. Jake's head snapped back. The crowd screamed. He fell to one knee, dazed. For a moment, time froze. Cena stepped back, refusing to hit a downed opponent. The referee began counting. 1, 2, 3. Jake's corner screamed, "Get up! Get up, Jake!" At 7, Jake rose, shaken, humbled, but still standing. The referee checked his eyes. "You good to continue?" Jake nodded, trying to steady himself. When the fight resumed, Cena didn't rush in. He circled, measured, patient. It wasn't about humiliation, it was about lesson. He began speaking quietly between punches. "Yes, speaking. You've got power, kid." Jab. "But power without respect." Cross. "Means nothing." Body shot. Each word hit as hard as each punch. Jake's face showed frustration, but deep down, he was listening. Because Cena wasn't just fighting him, he was teaching him. Commentators couldn't believe what they were witnessing. John Cena isn't just boxing, he's mentoring this kid mid-fight. This is incredible. The round ended. Jake stumbled back to his corner, exhausted, sweat pouring down, chest heaving. His coach looked at him and said softly, "You're not fighting him anymore, Jake. You're fighting yourself." Jake didn't reply. He just stared across the ring, at Cena, standing tall, calm, respectful. Round 5. Jake tried to reset. He came out slower, more focused. Gone was the trash talk. Gone was the arrogance. For the first time, he fought with intent, not ego. The two men traded blows, cleaner now. Jake landed a solid right. Cena nodded, acknowledging it. "Good," he said. "Now fight smart," the crowd roared. This wasn't just a brawl anymore. It was redemption. For 2 more minutes, they went toe-to-toe. Jake giving everything he had, Cena matching every strike with precision. By the end of the round, both men stood face to face, breathing heavily, eyes filled with mutual respect. When the bell rang, they didn't turn away immediately. They just stared, 2 warriors from different generations, understanding each other without words. If you were JakePaul in this moment, bruised, tired and humbled, would you keep fighting or call it a day? Comment below. Never quit or know your limit. As Jake returned to his corner, the crowd chanted louder than ever before. "Respect! Respect! Respect!" Cena raised a glove to acknowledge the crowd, but his eyes stayed on Jake, because deep down, he knew the real fight wasn't between them. It was between JakePaul's pride and his growth. The legend had proven his strength. Now it was time to see if the young fighter could prove his heart. And with that, both men stood up for the next round, not as enemies, but as 2 fighters chasing something bigger than victory, honor. The bell rang for round 6. and the entire arena stood to their feet. You could feel the tension in the air, the mix of adrenaline, fatigue, and emotion thick enough to touch. This wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a story unfolding before millions of eyes. JakePaul stood in his corner, chest heaving, arms heavy. His coach patted his gloves and whispered, "Jake, forget the fame, forget the cameras. Fight with your heart, not your ego." Across the ring, John Cena looked composed, focused, not exhausted, but aware. He had the aura of a man who'd been here before. He knew when a fight was just punches, and when it was personal. The referee looked at both men. "Final rounds ahead," he warned. "Let's make them count." Ding! Jake came forward not as the loud, flashy YouTuber the world knew, but as a fighter. No more taunting, no more showboating. Just heart, he jabbed carefully. Cena responded in kind. The exchanges were clean now, controlled, respectful. Each punch felt like a conversation. Each dodge, each counter was mutual acknowledgement. Jake landed a left hook that caught Cena slightly off balance. The crowd gasped, not because Cena was hurt, but because Jake had finally found his rhythm. For the first time, Cena smiled faintly. "There you go," he said, nodding. "Now you're fighting." Jake didn't answer, he just kept going. Jab, cross, step back. Cena countered. Short hook, body shot, pivot. Pure skill versus pure will. The crowd couldn't look away. Even the commentators had fallen silent, watching in awe as this fight evolved from rivalry into something meaningful. Midway through the round, Jake managed to land another strong combination, 2 body shots and an uppercut that snapped Cena's head back slightly. It wasn't devastating, but it was enough to make Cena take notice. "Oh, he's got fire," shouted the commentator. "JakePaul's finding his second wind." The fans started chanting both names now. "Jake! Cena! Jake! Cena!" Something incredible was happening. It wasn't just about who would win. It was about what this moment represented. By the end of round 6, both men were breathing heavily. Both were marked, bruised, cut, drenched in sweat. But neither would back down. They walked to the center, bumping gloves quietly before going back to their corners. A rare moment of mutual respect. Jake sat down, his coach wiping his face. "You've done more than enough, Jake," he said softly. "Don't do this for pride anymore." But Jake shook his head. "No. I need to finish what I started." Across the ring, Cena's coach asked, "You good, John?" Cena nodded, replying quietly, "Yeah, the kid's got spirit." Let's end this the right way. Round 7, the final round. The bell rang one last time. Both men stepped forward, slower, heavier, but burning with determination. No words now. Just fists. Every punch landed like thunder. Every block echoed through the arena. Jake threw a hard right. Cena slipped it. Cena countered. Jake took it and fired back instantly. The rhythm was beautiful, violent yet poetic. Then with a sudden burst, Cena landed a clean shot that staggered Jake. The crowd screamed. They thought it was over, but Jake didn't fall. He stood tall, breathing hard, and raised his gloves again. The look in his eyes said it all. Not yet. Cena nodded. A silent salute. For the next minute, they exchanged blows that would live in highlight reels forever. Punch after punch. Heart against experience. Youth versus legacy. And then, as the final seconds ticked down, Cena stepped back, lowered his gloves slightly, and did something unexpected. He reached out his hand. Jake froze, breathing, shaking, unsure. Was Cena surrendering? No, he was offering respect. Jake hesitated, then lowered his guard too. The crowd fell silent, realizing what was happening. Both men, bruised and bloodied, touched gloves in the center of the ring. Cena spoke quietly, his mic barely catching it. "You don't earn respect by talking. You earn it by showing up." Jake nodded, eyes filled with emotion. "You're right. And tonight, I finally showed up." The bell rang. Ding, ding, ding! The fight was over. The crowd erupted into cheers that shook the arena. Both fighters raised their gloves, not against each other, but together. When the announcer stepped into the ring, he didn't even need to say the result. Because everyone already knew, this fight had no loser. Jake walked over, grabbed Cena's glove, and lifted it high. "Respect to the legend." He shouted into the mic. The crowd went wild. Cena, smiling, raised Jake's hand in return, and respect to the fighter who earned it. For a moment, two generations stood united, the man who built the path, and the man who learned to walk it. Reporters rushed in, cameras flashing, fans screaming. Social media exploded. Clips of that handshake flooded the internet. Millions commenting, "This is what sportsmanship looks like." If you were watching this live, be honest, did you expect JakePaul to earn Cena's respect? Type yes if this surprised you, or heart if you felt the sportsmanship. Later backstage, Cena approached Jake quietly. "No cameras this time. Just two men. You did good, kid," Cena said. "You've got a long road ahead. But tonight, you took the first real step." Jake looked down, then smiled. "Thanks, John. Guess I finally learned the difference between chasing fame and earning respect." Cena put a hand on his shoulder. "Welcome to the fight game." As Jake walked away, exhausted but proud, the world was already calling it the night JakePaul grew up. The fight was over, but the story had just begun. The arena still echoed with chants of "Respect! Respect! Respect!" long after the final bell. JakePaul and John Cena had walked out of that ring not just as fighters, but as symbols of something bigger than boxing. Camera flashes followed them backstage. Reporters shouted questions from every angle. "Jake, how does it feel to go the distance with a legend?" "John, what do you think of Jake now? Is there going to be a rematch?" But neither man cared about headlines anymore. The tension, the ego, the trash talk, all of it had been left in the ring. Jake sat in the locker room, towel over his shoulders, ice on his ribs. He wasn't smiling, but he wasn't angry either. He was quiet. And for JakePaul, silence was louder than any promo. Across the room, John Cena walked in. No entourage, no cameras, just respect. He handed Jake a bottle of water, sat down beside him and said, "You've got potential, kid. Don't waste it chasing noise. Earn it through work." Jake looked up. Eyes tired but grateful. "Guess I needed someone to shut me up to finally." "Listen," Cena chuckled softly. "Nah, you just needed to fight someone who didn't care about your views, only your heart." That short exchange would become one of the most replayed backstage clips in sports history. Two men from completely different worlds, one a viral star, the other a global icon, finding common ground through combat and humility. Within hours, the internet exploded. Clips of their final handshake flooded every platform. Headlines everywhere read, "John Cena humbles JakePaul, but praises his heart." The fight that restored respect in boxing, from controversy to character, JakePaul's redemption. Millions of comments poured in. "I started watching for drama. I stayed for the lesson." This fight was bigger than a win or loss. Cena just turned a YouTuber into a real fighter. Even they